Hey, hey, hey! Welcome to another episode of Mad Mondays. My name is Marilyn Chanel, and I am your hostess of Mad Mondays, and I'm also the founder of Minorities Who Are Astonishingly Driven Scientists, aka Mad Scientists, where we are a nonprofit organization where we help underrepresented minorities succeed in STEM. And also, like having this podcast, we help talk about the struggles of being a student or a professional in STEM and provide resources and help for those who are pursuing a career in STEM. And so, just like today, we want to have one of the short nuggets of just helping you get through a tough time. And I feel like one of the toughest times that we can go through in life is experiencing failure. I know, right? Failure, 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 failure. Failure is one thing that is not fun. Definitely isn't fun, especially if a lot of people are looking at you. But I just want to give you just something, just like a quick little nugget as a quick encouragement to help you know that it's okay and you can keep going. So, the title of our episode today will be Failure Isn't Fatal. And I got this from Winston Churchill, who had a famous quote of failure not being fatal. And I want to read that for you guys today. So, failure isn't fatal. All right, by Winston Churchill. So he said, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. I want to tell you guys about a lot of times that I failed. And honestly, I feel like I have a long list. One of my most recent failures was a time where I was in a class, and I kind of talked about it in our previous episode where I was taking physical chemistry, yes, and it was a very, very, very hard time for me adjusting to having classes in a pandemic. I feel like I didn't put all of my effort into studying. I didn't put all of my effort into making sure that I was really, really, really solidifying all of the concepts that I needed to. On top of that, I was dealing with the pressure of having to do classes on Zoom, which was not as fun, but because I feel like I'm a in-person person, I really have to see my teacher. I want my teacher to see that I'm trying. I want to be on the front row, and I want my teacher to see that I'm trying. But having to deal with that switch of going from in-person classes to online was definitely hard for me, and dealing with being stuck in the house and not being able to do classes in person, that was kind of tough. And so I ended up failing a class, and so I will have to be retaking it. But that was my most recent one. But I also want to talk about other failures as well. And I have failed. I remember I auditioned. It was when I was in middle school. I was so hung on being an actress at that time. So I auditioned for a summer program of Consortium of Arts where I would be in a summer program and doing acting, and you had to audition. And so I auditioned, and I remember doing a monologue from Alice in Wonderland. I was kind of nervous, but I still remember that time today of where I auditioned. I went in and they had me do my monologue, and then they had me improv. And I felt good about it. And I was like, okay, I feel like I got this one. And then I got through the first round, and then the second round, they had me do another improv. And I was like, I don't even know what to say. Needless to say, honestly, I can't remember what they asked me to do during that time, but I just remember I kind of was like, I bummed that one. I know I didn't get that one. I know I didn't get that one. And I ended up not getting it. I failed that. I failed at acting. I failed at physical chemistry. And I'm trying to think of what's something else I've failed at recently. Or even not recently, but just in my life. Another thing I want to say I failed at is I used to always want to be a model, right? I love taking pictures, and I always seen myself walking on the runway. Like, I always see myself walking on the runway. I used to look at Tyra Banks' show because I just love seeing her talk show, but I used to always look at America's Next Top Model because I just loved like just seeing the process of how she would have the models come in. They would have the castings, and then they would have to do photo shoots, and they would get the hair and the makeup done, and then they would walk on the runway, and then Tyra and her team would critique them. And I was like, that looks so fun. I want to do that. And I also looked at Kamora Lee Simmons, and just seeing people like Naomi Campbell and Tyra Banks, and even I would look at the Victoria's Secret fashion show and see how they had the long legs and the strides and the big wings on. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to be a model. And so I chased after it. And so it was a time where it was like, that was actually recently, I want to say 2 years ago. I went to a casting near my hometown. I want to say it was an hour away. So my parents came up. They got me from college. I was a sophomore in college during the time. I had to pay for the application fee. I had to send my $25 in. My parents came, got me, drove an hour, 2 hours to come get me from school, and then a whole another hour to drive me to the casting where it was. And when I got there, I felt like, wow, all of these people in here are more beautiful than me. Everybody in here is taller than I am. Because if you didn't know, to be a runway model, you got to be tall. You got to be tall, tall, tall. And I'm only 5'2", 5'2", 5'2" and a half, maybe. Yeah, but short. So other girls were taller than me. They looked more beautiful than I did. I could tell they had more experience. They knew how to walk in heels. They just knew how to do it. They knew how to pose. And I went into the casting. They got my number. I waited. I auditioned. They had me walk. And then something there, when I just had the feeling like, dang, I don't think this is where I'm supposed to be. I really don't think this is where I'm supposed to be. But needless to say, I still got it done. I still got through my audition. And then I ended up getting an email a week later saying, we regret having to tell you this. You know how you get those rejection letters. We're glad that you auditioned, but we regret to inform you that you were not selected for this runway show or this fashion show. So that was another failure I encountered. But I want you to take a list and account of all of your failures that you've experienced in life. Me, honestly, I've had way more, but I wanted to just give you a few that I've experienced. I experienced a failure in class. I experienced a failure of auditioning to be an actress in my hometown during a summer camp. And I also experienced failure of trying to be a runway model in a fashion show. Just 3 to name, but there's so many more, so much more, so much more. But I want you to list yours. And just like me, when I was just thinking about that, of all the things that I've set out to do, all the things I ran after, and I was like, I really want to be a model. I really want to be an actress. I really, really want to do good in this class. I'm like, wow, I failed. But did I fail? But did I fail is the real question, because failure, I feel like it's all of how you look at it. Failure is, of course, you don't get your desired outcome. But if we look at the real definition of failure, it's a lack of success by the Google definition. But I want to say, is it really failing though? Because what did you learn from it? You know, and in those moments, I learned that, for one, when I was auditioning to be a model, I realized this isn't where I'm supposed to be. But I did learn that I had the courage to get up and walk in front of people who seemed more experienced than I was. I got a chance to meet new people. I got a chance to learn a little bit about modeling techniques. In the acting part, I had a chance to learn a bit about more of acting techniques. So I didn't fully succeed in the area, but I succeeded in learning about more aspects of myself. And sometimes we can look at failure as a part of not succeeding, and then we start getting down on ourselves and saying, dang, I'm not good at this. There's no way I could ever be good at this because I failed at this area. But I want to say, what did you learn from it? How did that affect you? How did how did you feel after that? Of course, sometimes it doesn't. Failure isn't fun, but what did you learn from it? Another thing I want to ask is, did you die? If you're listening to me right now, you're not dead. And so I want to encourage you to continue to experiment, to continue to try, to continue to keep going, to continue to keep pushing even after you've experienced times like that. And sometimes experimenting really does unlock parts of yourself that you really never knew you had. I never knew I had the courage to get up in front of people and improv until I went to a casting for acting. I never knew I had the courage to get up in front of people and walk in heels and turn and pose until I went to a casting. I never knew I had the confidence, honestly, until I did that. And so it's all in how you look at it. And another thing is, like Winston Churchill said, is failure isn't fatal. It isn't something that is going to kill you. And it also isn't something that's final. You're going to experience, and I hate to say this, but as long as you continue to live on this earth, there are going to be a lot more things that you fail at. But I don't want you to let that get you down and cause you to never even try, because it's in the going after the new things that you learn more about yourself. And I want to talk about failure in the area of where you're actually in your lane and you're going after that thing that is your purpose in life. And so, like I said, I'm a student in STEM. I am studying chemistry, and I want to be a cosmetic chemist, and so I need physical chemistry in order to graduate, right? And during that moment of failing that class, it really had me think, dang, do I still want to do this? Is this something I still feel is necessary to continue to do? And maybe I can change my major, maybe I can just switch, I had all of these thoughts after failing because I didn't want to push back my graduation date. But then I thought, no, this is exactly what you needed. I learned that I shouldn't be so hard on myself because I was learning how to become a student in a new environment. So I shouldn't beat myself up about that. But I also learned that it's okay. I learned better study habits. And I learned that this is definitely something I wanted, because even after failing, I still wanted to keep going. And I think it's in the failures that really teach us whether we want it or not. And another thing is think about whose life will not be impacted if you give up. Think about that. Just think about whose life will not be impacted if you give up. And there are so many people who have failed in life. And one person that came to mind was Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, and I'm not even a basketball person, but I feel like everybody, you don't even have to be a basketball person to know who Michael Jordan is. One of the greats in basketball, tried out for his varsity team and was cut. And this was in high school. And he used that rejection to propel him forward. And of course, like anybody would be, if you get cut from a team or something that you've really been wanting to do, you would go home, you would cry, you would question your worth, you would question, dang, is this something I really wanted to do? And so, of course, he did that. But what he did was he took that rejection and used that to hone in on his skills. And he said that he has missed more than 9,000 shots in his career. He's lost 300 games. 26 times he's been trusted to take the game-winning shot and he missed. He's failed over and over again in his life. And that's why he succeeded, because it's through him learning more and more through the shots that he missed that he ended up becoming a better player. And so I want to encourage you to not beat yourself up when you miss, to not beat yourself up when you fail, to not beat yourself up when you have to pivot sometimes. Because sometimes it honestly teaches that, hey, this isn't really what I really want. But even when you fail, it does give you a sense of perspective of, hey, should I keep going or should I not? And if you know this is your purpose and exactly where you need to be and what you're called to do, I encourage you to not give up. Do not give up. Do not give up. I don't care how hard it gets. And believe me, it will get hard. And I just want to tell you guys that failure is not fatal. I believe in you. You're not done after you fail. There's way, 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 way more for you to do. And don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. So yeah. And just remember that we're graced to dominate STEM. I'm going to continue to say it until it gets embedded into your brains. Every single time you hear my voice, you will hear, we're graced to dominate STEM. I'm graced to dominate STEM. I'm graced to dominate STEM. Because you are. Even when you fail, even when things don't go your way, even when you have some slip-ups, even when you have some pivots, even when times are set back and you have to wait a little bit longer for the promise, remember, you're still graced to do this. And for this week, remember that failure isn't fatal. And again, we're graced to dominate STEM. This has been another episode of Mad Mondays. I encourage you to find us on Instagram at Mad Scientist SC. You can also find me, your hostess, at Marilyn Chanel on Instagram, and tell us what are some failures that you've had, what are some failures that you've experienced, and also tell us what did you learn from it and how did you bounce back from it. So yes, this has been another episode of Mad Mondays. We will see you next week. Love you guys.